Good? Well, it will sure make us feel good. Exactly. Besides, it's been months since we've shown one of your kind why us whites are so superior. Didn't you notice that our town is pure and untouched by your filth? We've managed to keep only good white people here, and damn it, we are going to continue to do so. They then dragged me from the car, just as they said they would. They beat me up severely, and then took my shoes and socks and told me that I was to walk out of town and to head home, although they wouldn't give me my cell phone back. Bruised and sore, I did as I was told, and started walking along the side of the road. I had no idea how long I had been walking. Hi there, my name is Reggie, and I have quite the story that I would love to tell you. It's probably my best story, to be honest. Although it started off innocent enough. I had gotten engaged to Laura a little over 6 months ago, and although I had asked more than once, I still hadn't met her family. She had always told me that she was from a small town, and her family wasn't very accepting of outsiders. Since I'm black, I just assumed that this meant that her entirely white family would probably have issue with their daughter engaged to a black man. I had prepared myself to not get along with my future in-laws, although I had no idea just how bad that relationship would end up being. However, there was always the chance that I was wrong, and so I told Laura that since we would soon be married, that whether they approved of me or not, that they should at least meet me first. If things didn't work out, then we would cross that bridge when we got to it. But for now, we would go into the situation with an open mind. When she called her family, they were excited to hear that she had gotten engaged, and we made plans to go and visit them over the weekend. I was working on a story for the magazine that I work for, and although I wasn't planning on working the entire weekend, I told Laura that I would be bringing my equipment and working a little on my latest story. As we drove through the center of town, we passed by a cop car that was parked on the side of the road. The 2 officers inside stared daggers at me. I wasn't sure why, but they looked very upset with me. The expressions on their faces made me think that they hated me. It made my skin crawl. Pulling up to the Laura's parents' house made me feel a bit more comfortable, that is, until her parents and brother came outside to greet us. Laura didn't notice, but all 3 of her family members stared at me with wide eyes, and I could tell that it was a shock to them to see a black man with Laura.
Mom, Dad, Caleb, this is my fiancé Reggie. He's a writer for a magazine.
A basketball magazine?
No. He's a reporter. He writes for a news magazine. Hey, Mom, can you help me get my bags upstairs?
Laura and her mother went inside, which left me with her father and brother, both of which sneered at me. So what makes you think that I'll let my daughter marry someone like you? Don't you people know better than to date us white people? To think my own daughter would date some inhuman trash like you? If you know what's good for you, then you'll get out of town before we call up the sheriff and have him throw or drag you out of town. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but the second that Laura came back, they stopped and pretended to smile. Their expressions were so incredibly fake, but Laura couldn't tell. Later, when Laura and I were alone, I tried to tell her about what they said, but she wouldn't believe me. Babe, they threatened to have me dragged out of town. They hate me.
Oh, Reggie, they were just playing around. Trust me, my family is going to love you once they get to know you as well as I do. Just give them time to warm up. I promise that it will work out.
I liked her optimism, but I knew better. This wasn't the first time that I had encountered racist people before, and I knew that it could always get much worse. The next day, I grabbed a recording device from my work gear and hid it on my body so that it would record but not be obvious. I figured that if Laura heard her family being racist towards me, that she would agree that leaving was our best option. Once I was sure it was recording and not easily visible, I went downstairs to talk to Laura's father and brother. Hey guys, listen. I know that we got off on the wrong foot yesterday, but can we maybe find a way to make this work? Laura and I really love each other, and we would love for you guys to be happy for us. Happy? Why on earth would I be happy that my daughter was marrying a heathen like you? There's no way that I'll let a disgusting black man marry my daughter. I especially won't let her have any monster children with the likes of you. Like we said yesterday, you had better get out of town, but that's too late now. But you'll regret it. Just then, a police car pulled up and 2 officers got out. Okay, boy, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, although we would prefer the hard way. They looked like they were about to attack me any second. Listen, I didn't do anything wrong and I'm not looking for any trouble. Well, you didn't leave town, so trouble has come and found you. I didn't know what else to do, so I allowed them to handcuff me and take my cell phone, and as they half dragged me and half pushed me to the cop car. The one officer punched me a few times in the back. I couldn't defend myself. I just had to take the abuse. Luckily, I knew the microphone was going, so at least whatever they did, it was being recorded. Eventually, they threw me in the back of the car and then got in and we drove off. I had no idea what Laura's father was going to tell her, but I had more important things to worry about at the moment. After several miles, they pulled over to the side of the road. I could see a short way off in the distance the marker that was placed on the limits of the town. So we are feeling very generous, boy. We're only going to rough you up some and take your shoes. But then we'll let you walk home. How does that sound? Why? What good could that possibly serve? Good? Well, it will sure make us feel good. Exactly. Besides, it's been months since we've shown one of your kind why us whites are so superior. Didn't you notice that our town is pure and untouched by your filth? We've managed to keep only good white people here, and damn it, we are going to continue to do so. They then dragged me from the car, just as they said they would. They beat me up severely, and then took my shoes and socks and told me that I was to walk out of town and to head home, although they wouldn't give me my cell phone back. Bruised and sore, I did as I was told, and started walking along the side of the road. I had no idea how long I had been walking, but eventually a truck stopped and gave me a ride to the next town where I was able to call a friend and get them to wire me some money so I can rent a car and drive home. When I arrived, Laura was there waiting for me and she appeared very upset with me.
Reggie, I want you to tell me the truth. Why did you leave?
Better yet, instead of me telling you, why don't you listen to this? As I played the recording of what her father and brother said, followed by what the police did to me, her face went from concern to shock to outrage. By the end of it, she was beet red with anger. I then told her how I got home, and she began to sob uncontrollably.
They lied and said that you left with some floozy, that you had seen a girl drive up and gotten into her car and left. I didn't believe it, but all of them said the same thing over and over again, and when I tried to call you, the phone kept going to voicemail.
Well, the cops took my phone. I'm sorry that I couldn't get a hold of you sooner, but by the sounds of it, I'm not the first person to suffer this fate. And who knows if they were so gentle with the last guy.
So what do we do?
Well, I still love you. Do you still love me and want to marry me?
Yes, but after the way my family treated you. How could you want to marry me?
Because I'm marrying you, not them. Listen, I can't let this slide though. Those cops in that town need to be put on blast for what they did. They can't get away with this. Laura agreed, and that night I wrote a scathing story about how the police officers treated me and what they had said. I even included their actual names, and I mentioned how racist the town was, and that although I don't have specifics, that I suspect that mine wasn't an isolated incident. I then sent the story to my editor, and he loved it and printed it first online, and then when they released the monthly edition, they included it there as well. The story was read by thousands of people, and news outlets from all over the world contacted me to ask questions about the incident, which only brought more light to the story. The town ended up being overrun with reports, and eventually with law enforcement as well, that started looking into my allegations of wrongdoing by the local police department. It didn't take them long though, and within a few weeks, the police officers were arrested for wrongful arrests, assault, even drug trafficking. My future in-laws were harassed, both my news reporters and people online that made their lives a living hell. So much, in fact, that they were forced to sell their house and move to a much smaller one halfway across the country. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get a lot for their house, as no one wanted to move to a town that was named one of the most racist towns in the country. The little money they made from the sale only got them a small trailer, which was barely big enough for one person, let alone three. They have even been doxxed and are constantly harassed in the new town. Laura even told me once the parents' car was stolen and was found in a nearby lake with notes inside saying this is for being racist. She also told me sometimes people refused to sell to them when they recognized them at the mall, so they ended up ordering things just online and barely stepped out. Her brother is finding it hard getting a job, and they all survive from her dad's pension, which isn't a lot. From what Laura knows, the three of them bicker all the time as they hate living there. For me though, I'm just glad that I was able to make those dirty cops pay for what they did, and the fact that Laura's racist family suffered as well as a result made it a major win in my book. There is a happy ending as well. Despite her family being trash and terrible people, we are still going to get married. At the end of the day, we really do love one another, and the idea of having children makes my heart fill with joy. Both because I know that we'll make great parents, but also because her family would be filled with rage at the thought of us having children. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.